All right, this is Mr. Frazier, and I'm doing the test corrections for the last test we had. It was chapter 8, 10, and 13. Please make sure you're following the instructions that you're supposed to use, which means you're going to copy the question that you got wrong. You're then going to correct or show the correct work. Then you're going to tell me what you originally did, and then you're going to tell me what you were supposed to do to correct that. I will do the first problem in that order so that you're able to see what your work should look like. And then I'm going to go through the rest of the test without an issue and show you what many of you may or may not have done incorrectly. All right, so again, remember that this is a review of what you've been doing since 4th grade. It's being able to do a dot plot and a box and whisker, mean, median, and mode. These are all concepts that you have done before. There is nothing new here. We just went over some vocabulary that you add to this so that you understand that in algebra we learn more about what we're doing, not necessarily any new arithmetic. So again, most of the arithmetic that we've been doing is the same since 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade. It's nothing different. This first problem is a restaurant manager, and he's keeping track of his servers and the amount of work that they do per hour. So it says to construct a dot plot and use the number line below. Hopefully you understand a number line starts with a number and then moves sequentially. I saw a lot of people who did not count correctly. So for example, they started with 12, and then the next number they wrote was 14. And then the next number they wrote was 16. Hopefully you know a number line goes sequentially. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I think that's what you're supposed to do. I will tell you that if you wanted to skip spaces, you could do 14. But there still should be a dash in between here for that to be 13, because a number line is sequential. So 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, all the way up to 23. It was already done for you, so the only thing you had to do was put in numbers. And we knew we started with the number 12 because the lowest information we have here is a 12. Okay, and the same thing goes for the box and whisker. It says use the number line provided. And again, once you've done the first one, the second one should be easy because you're going to put the number there. And they go sequentially because it's a number line. What were some of the mistakes I saw? I had one person put 12, 14, 20, 20, 20, 23. That's unfortunately not a number line. Number line is increasing sequentially. You can't repeat the same number. That's not a number line. Okay. I believe they were getting confused with other things. All right. So I'll show you what mine looks like for question 1, following the format. Here I rewrote the question and rewrote what they gave me. Then it said construct a dot plot. So I went ahead and made my own graph and constructed the dot plot. As you can see, I put tick marks there and increased amounts. Okay. Then it says construct a box and whisker. And that's where you find the median of the medians. So that means you're finding the middle, and then you're finding the middle of both sides. Okay. Again, this is just manual labor. It's not like it's supposed to be super difficult. So we have a number line. We go ahead and number it again, 12 through 23. Okay, and then you just count until you get to the middle. So that's 1 from each side. That's 2 from each side. That's 3 from each side. That's 4 from each side. That's 5 from each side. The middle number is 20. So at 20, I would put the first part of my box. Then I go to each side and I count to the middle. So 1, 2, 3. Okay? And the middle number is between, the middle number is 14. Okay? So you start with the 20, and you move in, 1, 2, and then 14 is the middle number. All right, so you put your second line at 14 because that's half of that part. Then I move over here and I go to the middle number here. So I go this way, this way, this way, and the middle number is 21. So there's my box. I found the middle, and then the middle of the two middles. Okay. And my whiskers go out to my lowest number and my highest number, which is 23 and 12. And then what you're supposed to know if you basically is cut the information into fourths. This would be 25% of your information. This piece right here is 25%, 25%, and then the whisker 25%. So it adds up to 100%. And that means 25% of the information's here, 25% of the information's here, 25% of the information's out here, 50% of the information is inside the box. Okay, so those are all things that we're paying attention to. This is the second quartile. This is the third quartile. Why? Because it'd be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so, not high end, just learning what the words meant. Okay, and I wrote my excuse. Hopefully you see you had 1A, writing out the question. B would be showing my work. Okay, and that's what I did for A and D. I showed my work, crossing it out. C, I wrote down, well, I didn't number the number line correctly. That's what I did wrong on my test. Okay, everybody did something differently wrong on their test. You should be able to tell me what you did wrong. And then you're supposed to tell me what you were supposed to do. I was supposed to find the middle, then find the middle of the left and the middle of the right. So you're finding three middles. Those are my lines. I draw my box, and then my whiskers go to the last numbers in my set. Okay? So this is what problem 1 looks like following the format. A, B, C, and D. Okay, making sure that you're able to show me all those things that are involved. Remember, you're only doing the corrections. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the next problem. The next problem was finding the mean, and that's where you're supposed to add them all up and divide by how many are there. So that means to show my work, I would do 10 plus 12 plus 14 plus 14 plus 17 plus 18 plus 20, and divide it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that ends up being 15 is the mean. When you add those all up and divide by 7, you get 105. Okay. So you add up 105, add up all those, they come up to 105, divide by 7, and you get 15. Again, remember, what they originally did will be different. Some people found the median, which was in the middle. All right. The next question asked us to take the tally marks and put in the actual numbers. Okay. So that means they gave us tally marks that look like this, and basically all you had to do is put in the correct numbers. Okay. Nothing super difficult. It's the same schedule. It's the same process. I didn't have many people get this wrong. I did have some. For some reason, somebody came up with the answer of 92. You had a calculator, so you were just supposed to add up 3, 5, and 3 is 11, 3, 4, and 2 is 9, 4, 5, and 3 is 12, 8, 2, and 4 is 14, and then you add the totals going this way, because that's what a total is. Going this way, and down. So hopefully you know this number when you added this across should have matched this number when you added these down, which was 46. And some people had 47. It was kind of scary because all you had to do is take the tick marks and put down the number for the tick. So there was 3, so you put 3. If there was 5, if there is here, I put the number 5. And then you just add it straight down and put in the answers. Okay. Then you had 2 different types of distribution. Now, you didn't have to worry about those yet. They wanted you to draw a graph, and they told you that they wanted the x-axis to be the types of music. So that means the types of music would have been jazz, contemporary, and classic. Then you were supposed to do a graph, and you had to come up with how many bars. It would have been 4 bars, 4 different bars, one for 9th graders, one for 10th graders, one for 11th graders, and one for 12th graders. Okay, so you did that graph and you wanted. You could have done that clear for 10th or for 9th. You could put stripes in for 10th. For 11th, you could have done dots. And for 12th, you could have shaded. Everybody's would have looked a little bit different because nobody had to use the same things. But when you do graph it, it should have looked something like that. And then it asks you the next one. It says, what conclusion can you draw from this? Okay, well, when you're looking at the graph, you're trying to figure out, and they ask you, they want you to graph what different grades of students like to listen to. So your conclusion should be starting with the grade. So when you look at this, you should see that the 12th graders like jazz the most. And that was it. You're not supposed to tell me what they like the least. That's not what the graph was about. The graph was about things that they liked the most. Okay? Please understand there is a difference between liking something the least and liking something the most. Just because you like something the most doesn't mean the smallest amount here means they like it the least. Right? So everything that you're talking about should have to deal with what they like the most. And in this case, the 12th graders like jazz the most. And that was about it. Okay? That's what I was looking for. By looking at the graph, that's what you can tell. Okay? Then it says we're going to do a marginal distribution. There's a marginal distribution, and then there's a there's a marginal distribution, and then there's a conditional distribution. Okay, the marginal distribution is that you were supposed to take that number 46, and it's now the denominator for all of your fractions. Some of you are like, well, what is the top number? It's the same number that was there. So for the first one, it would be 3 over 46, 5 over 46, and 3 over 46. Okay, and you continue that all the way through the chart, and that gives you your fractions. And then you're supposed to change each one of those fractions to a decimal. It's very simple, 3 divided by 46. Okay, so when you get that answer, this one would be 0.065. Now some of you rounded it and made it 0.07. I'm not going to get too picky with it. You were supposed to go to 3 decimal places, but that's all you were supposed to do, is write them all as fractions and then put in the decimals. Okay? So understand that when you wrote them all as fractions, you would have, again, 3 over 46, 4 over 46. The 46 never changes. The 2 over 46. But this was only half of the problem. You had to then change each one of those to decimals. This would have been 11 over 46, 9 over 46. Some of you had the denominator wrong from the very beginning and carried the mistake all the way through, so I didn't punish you for doing that, but you should have still had the same fractions correctly. Okay? And then, of course, this goes all the way to 18 over 46. And again, they're the same numbers you'd used in the other graph, except 46 is the denominator. You do the division, and you put in the decimal. Not too difficult. That's called marginal. That's what marginal means. It means part of the original. Okay? And then you had to do the conditional. The conditional was per condition. So, per 9th grade, per 10th grade, per 11th grade, per 12th grade. Conditional. Which means now the only difference was the top number stays the same. The bottom number is what the conditional added to. So in that problem right there, all of those would have had 311, 511, 311. And then the next column, the denominator would have been what was the denominator for that whole next column, which in this case is 9. The denominator for this column would have been 12. This would have been 14. Okay? So in other words, you would have had 11 over 11, 9 over 9, 12 over 12, and 14 over 14. And of course, you would have had 46 over 46. These all down here would have been 1. Okay, but the fraction represents the pieces of this amount. So then, again, these numerators don't change. Now it's just the denominator. That's what conditional is. Changes per condition. Okay? And then it asks you, what can you tell about the relative frequency? Well, when you look at the conditional frequency, you're not supposed to have fractions here. These, you're supposed to change to percentages. Okay, so that means you do the division and then you change it to a percentage. And you would have seen with the percentages, these answers. Okay, so those are your percentages. And again, what could you tell me about what most like? And you would have been able to see that over 50% of seniors liked jazz. And that's what you're supposed to point out. If you wanted to, you could have also pointed out that for 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, the majority of them liked correct. All right? And that's what this question was. So basically, I was looking for over half of the 12th graders like jazz, and then if you wanted to, you could have put also that 9th, 10th, and 11th liked contemporary. But this was the part I had to see, over half. And the reason you knew it was over half was because these were all percentages. That's why you do conditional. Okay? Then it says right here, the next question says, which types of music? Hopefully you were to pick more than one type, and then based just by looking at this one and the other chart, the two types you should have picked would have been jazz and contemporary. You would not have picked classical. All right. The following question was using the quadratic equation. Okay, x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And what were you supposed to do? Well, this was exactly like your quiz and exactly like your homework. They gave you the expression. It was right here. And they wanted you to rewrite that expression for the first part as if the ball had hit the ground. Well, the ground is at what height? Correct, the ground's at 0. So you were supposed to just write this whole problem equal to 0. That's all you're supposed to do. And then determine the a, b, and c. Hopefully you know the a is in front of the first term, the b is in front of the second term, and the c is the constant at the end. Okay, so it would have been a, b, and c. Many people forgot the negative 16. Then you put it in the quadratic equation, you do the math, and you come up with two answers. One of them is going to be a negative 0.04. Hopefully you understand, time cannot be negative. And of course, realistically, somebody told me it took 8 seconds for the soccer ball to reach the ground. And I want you to see, or even think about kicking a soccer ball into the air. It's never going to take 8 seconds to get back down to the ground unless you kick it out of a football stadium. Okay, because even in football, when they punt a football, it goes only in the air for about 4.5 seconds. So there is no way. I had some people tell me it took 3 minutes. You guys really have to do a better job of knowing where your answer is supposed to be. So you were supposed to write out the problem, okay, and show your math work. One of the problems was supposed to be adding that square root, and one of them was supposed to be subtracting the square root, and you would have came up with 2.23 seconds and negative 0.4 seconds. Hopefully you know that the answer is 2.23 seconds. Many of you had the two answers, but you didn't tell me which one was the answer. You have to actually tell me which one of those two numbers was the answer. Some of you made rounding mistakes. Some of you did some arithmetic errors. Hopefully you go back and catch those. Okay, this was the easiest part of the test. This is the easiest part of the test, and again, you're looking at the histogram. It asks how many days are on the histogram. There's 30, because this represents a month. Hopefully, you only had 3 choices. It would have been 31 days, 30 days, or 28 days, just depending on the month. But in this case, you just add it up. There's 7 days here, 9 days here, 8 days here, 6 days here, 5, and 3, you add them all up, you get 30. How many days were above 86 degrees? Well, let's see, 86 is here. So that means there was 5 days and 3 days, which are 8. Okay. Mean, median, and mode. Again, which one was it? Well, you have to know that when you have this data and it's skewed to the right, what gets pulled to the right? The mean or the median? Hopefully you know it's the mean. The mean gets pulled to the right because it's skewed right. That means the median is closer to all the other information. So you would have told me that 8.25 is the median and 83.6 is the mean. And the reason why is because it's skewed right. Or somebody said the median is closer to all the other information. Right, so the median should be closer to 84 than the mean. The mean should be further away. The box and whisker, again, it's the medium of the medium. So that means 20 is the median, but you have no idea how many people are being asked to participate. You do know that the lower part is, this is 25%. You know this is 25%. You know this whisker is 25%, and you know this whisker is 25%. It's the same on any box and whisker. It's always the same. Okay, so that means which is the most accurate for this one, the median or the mean? In this one, it would be the mean. Why? Because this is symmetric. Okay, the information is evenly spread out, meaning it's not skewed left or skewed right. So like this one is skewed to the right. Remember what I told you, if you went like that, you could see it's skewed right. This is symmetric. Okay. How many students are represented? You can't tell. What percentage of the classrooms has 23 or more? So I look at 23 or more. That's this 25%. And then it says what percent of the classrooms have between 17 and 23. Hopefully you know this is 25% and this is 25, which would be 50%. All right, remember you turn in the test corrections with the original test, making sure you've answered everything I've asked you to answer. You turn that in, and then you're able to retake the test. All of this is due before we take the EOC, which is in almost 4 weeks. All right. Thank you very much, and good luck.